Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances. I thank you very much for taking the trouble to call me. That's nice. I don't know. There's a few things I have been thinking about for a long time, which I wanted to ask to you, and then when Braj Bihari came here, he suggested that I call you, and I said, "Well, how am I going to do that?" And he said, "So he arranged for that," and I'm grateful to him and to yourself for making yourself available. Thank you. Okay. Some questions I wanted to ask you, because a few months ago there was Prabhu suggested that perhaps you could. I was having some difficulties with Gauri, who was president at the time, and Prabhu suggested maybe you could be a third person to speak between me and myself. Gauri, to try and bring about some peace, and that did not take place because everything worked out with. We worked everything out with Pragosh. So I'll ask. There were some questions I wanted to ask you if we were going to meet, so I'll ask you those questions now, and then there was a more recent thing that came up. So I'll start with. I have heard over the years. I've heard rumors that you have given support to certain individuals who were, shall we say, not very nice to Gurukula children or children in general, and I don't know to what extent that is true. So I guess the first question is, there are three names specifically that I have heard about. The first one was Varkeshvara Pandit. I was told that you supported him when he was having when the CPO was investigating his case. Is that true? What I heard was that what I heard was that you felt somehow you felt that the girl was more responsible than Varkeshvara Pandit for what had taken place. That's the rumor I heard.
I can tell you very honestly, no, I never took sides with people or took sides with either of them. I wasn't really involved at that time with the CPO. I only, I spoke to, I think it was Tamaha or Bhavananda, and I just expressed that I felt, even if he's guilty, that having a consensual relation with a minor is not as evil or as abusive as raping or abusing a little kid in a group pool where they're forced under your hand. I mean, they're both really bad, no doubt, but I don't think they should be treated in the same way.
Yeah, no, certainly it's there is some difference for sure.
And what happened is, the CPO seemed like they were sentencing people just on the basis of abuse to some extent. It's not that they do this, but this is what I sensed.
Yeah.
I was just expressing that I don't think it should be. that it should be kind of a case-by-case thing. And, because I saw that they were sentencing in the same way as horrible abusive situations where little children were abused in the group were completely helplessly.
Yeah.
And according to this case, from what I was told, even the girl admitted that it was consensual.
Yeah, that seems to be the unanimous. It seems like everybody agrees on that.
And that was really my only two things. I just expressed that. And when the situation came with the case here in London, I wasn't supporting anybody. I was just saying in regards to Rory, and also that I felt that the CPO should have a dialogue with the local leadership in how they're going to, make these penalties, just so that, you're all on the same page, because these are the people who have to actually deal with the fallout of it.
Yeah.
It's just my request to them. Other than that, I wasn't involved in any of it with Rory.
Mm-hmm.
Varkeshvara Pandit, it was on that basis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Have you, do you know the girl that Varkeshvara Pandit was involved with?
I don't think I ever met her.
Okay. There was another person that another rumor that I heard that another person, and that was Dhanurdhara Swami. I heard you also lent some support to Dhanurdhara Swami. Is that true?
Well, supporting that sense.
What have I heard? It's hard because there's so many rumors. I heard that Jayadvaita Swami was very vocal in his support. I heard that you were not as vocal as Jayadvaita Swami, but that you did somehow. I don't know. I don't know what kind of support you gave him, but I heard.
I can tell you, from my side of
Yeah.
support.
Yeah.
We're friends.
Yes.
And I'm very close with quite a few of his disciples.
Yes.
That really doesn't have anything to do with the case. It's a personal matter. I don't think that that's support in regard to the case. I mean, it's hard, even if a person's done some things wrong, to just reject them from a long-standing friendship is difficult.
Certainly.
So in that sense, I've been friends with him, and I'm very close with many of his disciples.
Yes.
They're like very, very close with me for many years. As far as the case, as far as I know, the only real support I've given, if you want to call it support, is that I felt that there should be a stand, that the CPO or the GBC or whatever it is, that there should be a standard way of dealing with situations. Like last year in Mayapur, I wasn't in any way supporting Dhanurdhara Swami, but I was, if people could interpret it that way, that I requested the GBC that, why not make a systematic rule that anyone who has been found to sexually be abusing children, that, they're not in the Guru rules, to a certain extent. One, the penalty is that they're not allowed to have official positions in ISKCON, like a GBC or a president or a temple commander or anything. That's already in the GBC books.
Yes.
I said, why not just put Guru there also?
Yes.
And then we don't even have to deal with Dhanurdhara Swami's name.
Yes. Yeah.
He automatically fits within us.
Yeah.
But if we're just trying to, deal with him, whether he should be a guru or not, then it just
becomes personal.
It creates such a personal, almost, people interpret it that we're just against him and it's unfair to him and everything. But if it just applies to all, if he's included, then it serves that purpose, but at the same time it's not too personal. I just felt that was the right thing to do.
Yes.
And ultimately they decided to go along with that.
Yes. I would say it seems like a sensible proposition. It seems to me in cases like this that it is difficult to find a balance between disapproving of the action of the activities that these people have engaged in the past, inappropriate activities that these people have engaged in the past, without condemning and distancing the person, still having compassion for the person. I think it's very difficult. It's a very delicate and difficult balance to maintain. It's quite difficult for somebody like you to, with your status, to show compassion to somebody like Dhanurdhara Swami, which I'm sure he certainly needed it after what happened after the ruling that he got, while at the same time not looking like you are disregarding perhaps the GBC resolutions, or that you're not supportive in some way of somebody like that. And I don't know. I don't know what would be an ideal balance.
I don't believe that I've ever knowingly gone against any of the judgments as far as my...
No, I don't think you have. I don't think you have. It just...
the Varkeshvara Pandit, the time I stepped in is the North American GBC ruled that he was never allowed to lead a kirtan, give a class, or have a position for the rest of his life.
Yes.
And that's the same penalty that I see on people who did horrific things of raping little kids in the village.
Yes.
And, even if he's guilty, I just feel it shouldn't be the same way.
Yes.
The CPO ruled 3 years. And, I didn't in any way retaliate against that.
Yes.
I accepted it, but the 3 years were finished, and he went through all that. And then the North American GBC made a new rule that made it for the rest of his life. And I just didn't think that was right. And, I felt it was my moral duty to our society to at least speak what I feel, whether I'm right or wrong. That's another thing.
No, you felt the penalty was disproportionate to the...
Yeah, and with Dhanurdhara Swami, I know literally children who are some of my very dearest friends. Dhanurdhara Swami, dealt with harshly, and there's just no way that I could, disregard the pain that they had, and there's no way that I could, in my own heart, be defiant of justice they feel should be made. But I felt that, the way it should be done should be as mature and professional as possible.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we are friends. We don't meet often, maybe at the most once a year, but, we are friends, and a lot of his, followers, I've been helping for many, many years. So that is, I'll admit, it's very difficult for me to try to balance on a personal, social level, the different expectations, the different, people who've gone through different experiences have.
I can certainly imagine that it would be very difficult. There is one last person I would like to ask you about. It's Sri Galim. I was told that with Sri Galim, he was the headmaster in the Gurukul in New Vrindavan, and he sexually abused on a number of occasions the children in the school. And I was told that when the community wanted to ask them to leave, you opposed that. Is that true?
I'm trying to think back exactly how it happened. No, I don't believe that is true. I don't know where the information came from. At a time when Kirtananada Swami was still there, and when the first charges were made, Kirtananada Swami was very strongly saying he was innocent, and I didn't really have anything to do with anything. I wasn't really involved at all. And then later on, when Kirtananada Swami was gone, I was friends with Sri Galim. And I was I didn't really know what happened or didn't happen. Later on, I went to California and I met mother, and I also met who was abused by Sri Galim, and he told me what happened. And there's no question in my mind that he's telling the truth.
Yes.
But I never really knew what was going on because in New Vrindavan, it was very difficult even to get the right information.
I can imagine.
At that time, now I'm not connected with New Vrindavan anymore, but at that time I was just kind of coming back. I left New Vrindavan, and then the GBC asked me to go back and try to help bring it back to ISKCON, which I did. And at that time, a child protection committee was created at New Vrindavan with Malati and Advaita and all these people, and Sri Galim was there, and they had decided that. And very, very honestly, as far as I could remember, I didn't in any way oppose what they decided.
Did they decide that he should leave, or did they decide he could stay in the community?
They decided that he had to leave the community.
Okay.
I remember after I talked to him, I just stood back because I thought, they're parents and they're the Child Protection Committee, and I'm living in India, and it's their community. I'm just kind of coming back to help build the bridge with ISKCON, and I didn't really feel it was my position to interfere either way. So I just kind of, whatever the Child Protection Committee at New Vrindavan decided, I just said, I support you.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided that, he was to leave the community, and I honestly don't remember ever opposing it.
Mm. Yeah, this...
I don't know where that came from.
Told me that. It was,
Of course I know.
Yeah. Perhaps the next time you're in Vrindavan, it might be a good. He is. That's what he told me. Perhaps it might be a good idea to speak with him if you get an opportunity the next time you're in Vrindavan.
Okay, I will. As far as Sri Galim, I've had nothing to do with him for years.
Yeah.
Because I'm so close with him. If I have anything to do with him, their hearts break.
Yes.
I just can't do that.
Yeah.
At that time, I don't remember being opposed. Whether I was asking questions of whether that was the right thing to do or not, I don't remember doing that, but I could have, because I remember my concern. My concern was Sri Galim had 2 little kids, and they were beautiful little children, and I remember I was very concerned what's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
You know, because of the sin of the father, you know, we also have to consider the effects on the children. I don't remember being opposed, but I remember having concern for the children. So I may have had some discussions with people. I don't remember directly, but I'm just thinking back of what could have happened. I may have had discussions with people about, you know, let's consider the children too. But no, I was not opposed, as far as I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine being opposed to it, because whatever they decided, I definitely supported it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, go ahead.
But I can tell you now, I absolutely don't support Sri Galim.
Mm-hmm.
And if I did at a certain time, if it was interpreted that way due to my sympathy for his children, I didn't think it was supporting him at the time. It may have been interpreted that way.
Yeah. You know Satadanya?
I know him.
Yeah. His daughter voiced some similar complaints. Basically, she said, because of what my dad did, I suffered. I was punished for my father's sins.
These are very, very emotionally complex issues. If you really go, when we really look into, everyone's lives, certainly that punishment or that restriction has to be there for abusers. But how to deal with the children it's a subjective matter, I guess.
Yes, there are many things need to be considered. It seems, I don't know, but it seems like in ISKCON there is not a lot of there's not many authorities who make who take a definitive stance to for the protection of the children. That at least that seems to be my perception, and I think that is something I have struggled with a lot, because it is taking things a step further, but it seems like the best case scenario is when the authorities don't support the abusers. Where in some instances, authorities, I'm not referring to you in this when I say this, have openly supported abusers, and you don't often see the opposite. You don't see authorities taking a stance to support the victims. It seems not as often, and it is unfortunate.
Well, when the CPO was created, it is a commissioned department that's acting on behalf and with the authority of the leadership of ISKCON. And, in most of the cases that, where there was, serious abuse, as far as I know, the full leadership of ISKCON is in full support of it. In a few cases, like, Varkeshvara Pandit, which was not such a serious abuse,
it was
this question of the extremity of the punishment. In relation to someone like Sri Galim, I don't think there's any authority in ISKCON that supported him. After the truth came out, at a certain time when Kirtananada Swami was, still there, and everything was very cloudy for so many people, and it wasn't really clear.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I'm very, very close with mother and everything. And if they interpreted that I supported Sri Galim, I don't think they'd have anything to do with me.
Yes.
And I think they know the case really, really thoroughly and really well. I go to their house a couple times a year when I'm in California. So I think I was interpreting it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
That's my observation.
Yes.
As far as authorities in ISKCON, most all the cases of the Child Protection Office where they found people guilty of abuse, by the authorities or the leaders of ISKCON supporting the CPO, they're supporting their decisions. And I think it's pretty rare that any leaders have opposed their decisions. In a few cases, there may have been some opposition to procedures or to the extremity of the punishment.
I think the problems came up in the most high-profile cases, such as Dhanurdhara Swami, Bhaktividyapurna Swami, Bhavananda, Satadanya. They were people who, because of their position, they enjoyed the support of many of the leaders, and it was very difficult to get, and it took a very long time to get some resolution. And I mean, personally, and this is just my opinion and my feelings, I find it difficult to understand why Bhavananda is back in the position of authority in Mayapur in some way or another with the new temple. It is hard for me to understand how, but I don't know.
I can't say I really disagree or agree, but just from the practical perspective, are you still there?
Yeah.
If we get disconnected, it's because I'm at a cell phone. My friend's cell phone. The battery may run out.
Okay.
If we do get disconnected.
Okay, thank you for telling me that.
But one thing that's complicated with Bhavananda, and I'm not really involved, I'm just kind of observing, is when it came to the temple in Mayapur, Prabhupada spoke to him about it than anybody else, but probably 100 times, because he was in charge of Mayapur. So he has so much of Prabhupada's personal insight and direction. And therefore, Ambarish Prabhu was kind of funding it. Really, really felt his input is very valuable. That's Ambarish made very, as far as I know, he's been very careful to make sure that he's not officially having any voting power or having any position. He's just like a very common consultant.
Yeah, no, I mean...
My understanding of how Ambarish chose to bring him in. Yes.
No, it seemed... Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It seems... He certainly had a lot of association with Prabhupada. From looking at it from my perspective, it seems like bringing him in and not giving him a title, but yet he is so he doesn't have a quote-unquote official position, but at the same time have him as the director of the designs in Mayapur. That is an extremely prominent position in ISKCON. But that's I think it goes beyond the scope of this conversation. Speaking of Bhavananda, I feel.
I don't know that much about it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is about. I wanted to hear from you what your involvement or non-involvement was with Sulocana's, the departure of Sulocana Prabhu from this world. Because there has been so much speculation on that on the internet, so many, I've read testimonies and other things, and I would really appreciate to hear your side.
Okay.
If you're willing. Yes. Yes, I certainly sense that.
What happened is at a certain point in 1993, Kirtananada Swami did certain things that came to my awareness, and I saw how it was affecting people, and I stood against it. I tried to do it in a way that was, reasonable. And John Mastami at that time was very, very fanatical. He was the most fanatical follower of Kirtananada Swami. And, there were certain things happened where Kirtananada Swami admitted certain improper behavior that he did, with sexual behavior. And, he admitted it to me and several others. And he admitted it to about a dozen of the leaders of the community and asked everyone to help him. So we had a meeting with the community and kind of explained it to them. And we tried to do it in a very respectful way. And then John Mastami and a couple others, he was the leader, just went to Kirtananada Swami. And Kirtananada Swami, I think, was afraid of him because, he had brain damage and everything. Kirtananada Maharaj from being attacked.
Yep.
John Mastami basically said, these men are all liars, they're all conspirators against you, and we know that you're perfect. And Kirtananada Maharaj then said, yes, they're all liars and conspirators, and I am perfect.
Okay.
So at that point, John Mastami came to me, just angry as fire, and said, you have lied against the Jagat Guru. In doing so, you have blasphemed him, and you will be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I will destroy you. And he just put his finger in my face and was shouting at me. He's really a huge guy, too. He was shouting at me, I will destroy you, you will be destroyed. You have lied. You have hung an innocent man. And he wouldn't let me say a word. And, that was kind of that. And, through the whole thing, I saw that everything was becoming, Kirtananada Swami was not denying the things that he already had admitted to, and it really created chaos. And I basically, just told the devotees, I'm leaving here, I'm not coming back. So I left, and eventually I ended up back in Bombay. And John Mastami was sending me heavy hate letters, and I said, I'm not planning to come back, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But what happened is the GBC wanted me to go back.
Yeah.
And he was totally outraged when I did go back. He was saying I was a liar, and Mother Earth can tolerate the burden of anything but someone who's a liar. And I remember Nitya and I were walking in the parking lot, and he came up to me, and in his car, his wife was with him, and he screamed in my face. He said, even if Kirtananada Swami had full sex with 10,000 children, he's still the guru of the universe. And if you don't accept that, you're going to hell. He's really a madman. And you can ask Nitya Prabhu about that. We were standing together, and we just kind of walked away like we do. And then what happened is, I went back to India, and when I was in India, Tirtha, he lost faith in Kirtananada Swami, I guess, and he actually testified with the prosecuting attorney and explained what really happened. And at that point, John Mastami really started, because he was still fanatically for Kirtananada. He fanatically flew against me when I came to New Vrindavan, and he just like that to me. Looked like he was going to beat me. He was just shouting at me, and he said that you're responsible. You're the one that told Tirtha to testify like this. I had absolutely no communication with Tirtha. I was living in India.
Yeah.
Honestly, I had no communication with him through that whole time. And he was blaming me and saying that he was going to put all the blame on me in order to take it off of Kirtananada Swami. And that's kind of this position he took, and that's when he started doing all this stuff. But then later on, John Mastami was really emotionally abusing his wife. And his wife, this is a few years later, his wife, her name is Merciful, and she left him. And Kirtananada Swami was in prison then, and John Mastami demanded that he order her to come back to him. And she explained the situation to Kirtananada Swami, and basically Kirtananada Swami took her side, that she had a right to leave him. And at that point, John Mastami turned totally against Kirtananada Swami, who was supposed to be the Jagat Guru.
Yeah.
But even though he turned against Kirtananada Swami, he was still totally against me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really doesn't make sense to me, except that somehow or other, he just hates me. So he's saying that I ordered him and stuff like that. It's completely untrue. I never ordered anyone to have anything to do with that crime. Now, Rajabihari told me that they posted a particular. I don't look at those websites.
There was Dharmatma's statement in the. I don't know where the case was, in what court it was heard, but it was Dharmatma's testimony and statement in front of the jury.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you the complete truth here, and there are court records to verify everything I'm saying. I didn't read what John Mastami put on, but Rajabihari told me that John Mastami posted the testimony of Dharmatma.
Yes.
Now what happened is, he made that testimony. I was subpoenaed to the grand jury. I explained actually what really happened. And the prosecuting attorney, the grand jury, and everybody believed me.
Yeah.
And then in the trial, Dharmatma said it again. And because he said it again, the defense attorney subpoenaed me to just speak the truth of what I spoke in the grand jury, which I did. And basically, if I did what Dharmatma said I did, I would have definitely been, indicted. 100%. But it's absolutely untrue. And I'll tell you exactly what I testified in the court to the grand jury in the trial. And for this reason, the prosecuting attorney, the jury, and everybody else believed that what Dharmatma was saying, it's not wrong in one sense, but in another sense, it's totally wrong. Because what Dharmatma did, and it may have been just, it was wrong chronologically.
Okay.
What happened is, Kirtan was arrested and put in jail. And there's a devotee named Tapat Purush. Have you ever heard of him?
I think maybe, I think I've heard a name.
He was the temple president of Cleveland. He was also arrested and put in jail. Now, both of these men are in prison. I was just doing traveling preaching. I would just be at New Vrindavan maybe at the most 1 or 2 days a month. I was doing college, outreach programs. So there were some devotees from Cleveland who were calling New Vrindavan and begging, our president's in prison, can you send some money to bail him out of prison? They were asking several people. So somebody brought me to the phone. I was just passing through. And so I called Kirtananada Swami. I said, the situation, why don't you talk to these people? So then I guess he did. And then I don't really know exactly what happened, but about an hour later, Kirtananada Swami drove up to me and said, where's the next college you're going to? And I said, Oberlin. And Oberlin is right near Cleveland. So he said, well, why don't you take money up there to bail Chapapoon out of jail? I said, I could do that. So I got in Kirtananada Swami's car, and he drove up to Dharmatma's house. Obviously, Kirtananada Swami already talked to Dharmatma on the phone, because there was no words. Kirtananada Swami just honked the horn. Dharmatma came out of his house, gave Kirtananada Swami a bag of money, and Kirtananada Swami gave it to me. And then he drove away. There was no words.
Yeah.
And then what I did is I had to give a class. I was teaching a vegetarian cooking class at Oberlin College. So I drove, and I didn't have time to deal with jail stuff, so I just went to the Cleveland Islam Temple, and there was a girl named Rukmini who was kind of running the temple in the absence of Papa Punj, and I just gave her the money. There was one of those rolling kind of safes, and you just put it in the top and you turn it out when it falls in. I said, I'm just going to give this money to you, and why don't you just call the court, and, this is for bailing Papa Punj out of jail. So she said, all right. And then I left.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I know, sometime later, this is months later, is Dharmatma saying that money, that transaction was to pay Tirtha for killing.
Yeah.
Sulocana.
Yeah.
I can tell you, before God, before Krishna, Radharani, and Prabhupada, and I said it under oath, what I told you is the truth of that transaction. It had absolutely nothing to do with paying anybody. It was to bail somebody out of jail.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with Tirtha even.
Yeah.
Tapakunj would somehow, the federal government charged him for trying to help Tirtha escape. Whatever happened, I don't really know that much. At that time, I really knew practically nothing. But all I did know is I was asked to bring that money up to bail him out of jail. So I testified in the courts, and with Mimi, the girl I gave the money to, she also testified in the courts. And yes, she came and gave money for me to do that. And nothing ever came out of it because, it isn't true.
Yeah.
Now, as far as I can see, this is one of, and this is a part, I don't know if it's in the testimony or not, but after I heard about this, that Dharmatma was saying these things to the grand jury and to the prosecuting attorney, I called Dharmatma. I was in Philadelphia at the time. I called him. I think he was in Florida. I don't know where he was. And I said, why are you saying this? There was absolutely nothing legal about us picking up that money.
Yeah.
They were all in jail. There was nothing to pay them. They could never touch them. That was to bail somebody out. And he said, well, that's not the way I remember it. And I said, well, your chronology is wrong, and that chronology is very, very falsely incriminating. He said, well, I don't remember that well. And I said, well, Dharma, why don't you at least tell the prosecuting attorney that you don't remember that well, because you're saying it like it's a fact. And he got really angry with me, and he said, because he was under heavy pressure, because, they had a lot of stuff against him for different financial, illegal things.
Yeah.
So, they were really grilling him, and he just yelled at me. He said, if I change my story now, they're going to hit me with perjury, so I'm not going to change it. And I said, well, we've been friends for a long time. At least you can tell the truth about it.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, one of two things. Either he knows that he's chronologically getting it wrong, and he's just, has some kind of ego where he doesn't want to admit that he said it wrong because he said it under oath in court.
Yeah.
Or, he's chronologically confused about it.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you honestly, that's what it was about. And, the reason I never got charged for anything, even though he said that horrible lie against me, is because for the prosecution, for the jury, for the grand jury, for everybody, they didn't believe him, and they did believe me because there was so much evidence. And as far as I know, I don't remember this, but as far as I know, one of the things that was very incriminating about Kirtananada Swami, I may be wrong in this, but I think this is what happened, because I didn't follow the case all that closely because I was in India most of the time. But I think they found his fingerprints on the money, and in that transaction of Dharmatma, there would have definitely not been any of his fingerprints, because Dharmatma just gave a bag of money and he just handed it over to me and I left. And the second thing is, at a certain time, Papapunj and Chirta, the third trial, or the second trial that happened, they actually pled guilty and confessed. And at that time, Papapunj explained, and it's to the prosecuting attorney, where and how the money actually came to Chirta. Because Chirta had some money when they arrested him.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's in the transcript, I don't know, because Papapunj gave that information to the prosecuting attorney, but in the middle of the trial, in the second trial, Kirtananada Swami actually pled guilty. So whether that testimony was before he did or not, I'm not sure. But definitely my testimony is there. And anybody who follows the trial knows that my testimony and Lakshmi's testimony completely clarifies that Mahatma was conception. And in my own observation, for Janmashtami to only put Dharmatma without putting the two testimony that nullified his, which are in the same transcript, means that he's not trying to give reasonable truth to the public. He's taking the sides and coloring it in a certain way for his own purposes.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I follow what you're saying. Did you give sannyas initiation to Tirtha?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Kirtananada Swami did.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it through Nimapati.
Wow. It seems like such a questionable decision in my just from the way I see it.
Yeah, it was. The whole thing was completely crazy. And I in no way support any of it.
Yeah.
But the only person in the whole thing that's trying to really make whoever's saying anything about my being linked to this, as far as I understand, in the internet, there's a lot of enemies of the leadership of ISKCON, and whatever people are saying against me on this, 100% of all their information is coming from Janmashtami.
You must have done something to him in your past life.
Whatever it is, I have no hard feelings to Janmashtami. I wish only the best for him. Not my position to avenge people or feel bad about people. But I'm just telling you the facts.
Yeah. Is there...
about a year and a half ago, he went on this major campaign about me, involved in this murder, and demanding the GBC to kick me out of ISKCON and everything. And, some senior people of ISKCON went to the prosecuting attorney, who actually worked with the FBI. There was a grand jury, there were 2 trials, there was major investigations. They spent millions of dollars investigating this case thoroughly. And, the prosecuting attorney is kind of overseeing the whole FBI, the whole investigation, everything. And they asked him, this guy who is the prosecutor, who I don't know, the time I ever really talked to him in my life has been cross-examined by him in the trial and in the grand jury. And some leaders of ISKCON went to him, I think within the Sri Galim, and they, asked him, there's heavy internet accusations of Radhanath Swami being involved in this. Now, you did all these investigations. Is there any possibility of an involvement? And he said, absolutely not. He said, we investigated. He said, because of Dharmatma's testimony, we thoroughly investigated him. And we could not find any trace of evidence that he was involved in it.
Yeah.
And another thing he said, now that he can testify to this, another thing he said that Janmashtami has no credibility, and he's a very dangerous man.
Yeah. If you... In how...
I'm telling you.
Go ahead.
Very honest with you.
Thank you, Maharaj. How... Could I ask you one last thing?
I'm just so happy you're such a nice devotee. You're trying to clarify things.
Well, it's... Yeah, I find it's very difficult because on this topic, I wish there could be something or perhaps a person that could come forth and give a testimony that would, and it would need to be a person that would have strong credibility on Janmashtami's camp, I presume, that would give a testimony that would put this thing to rest once and for all, but maybe that's not possible. How long did it take you to realize that there was something off with Kirtananada?
That's a long and painful story.
Yeah, okay.
But I'll make it really a summary. In essence, when it came to the judgment of Kirtananada Swami, and this is not in any way involving anything illegal. This is just certain
spiritual, philosophical.
Yeah, on that level.
Yeah.
he was hit on the head.
Yes.
And he was in a coma for over 30 days. And he had three major brain surgeries in those 30 days. And he was only given a 10% chance to live.
Mm-hmm.
And, the community of New Vrindavan are really sweet, nice devotees, most of them. And, they were just, simple, faithful people. And they didn't know about the abuse that was going on in the Gurukula, because most of them were parents with children in the Gurukula. They didn't know about those things. And as far as the whole thing with, the crimes, I think they had enough faith in Kirtananada Swami where they really didn't believe he could do something like that. And, when he was hit on the head, well, actually, he was hit on the head before the crime. When he was hit on the head, not only devotees of New Vrindavan, but devotees all over the movement were really crushed by that, by seeing him in that condition. And especially devotees of New Vrindavan who were very close to him. They were praying for him and praying for him and praying for him. And when he finally came out of his coma, he was in the hospital for a couple of months, and he finally came back. He was a very, very different person. He was an extremely different person. And at that point, devotees did one of a few things. Are you still there, son of Prabhu?
Yes.
Okay. Some devotees just saw that he was acting very sporadic, erratic, irrational, and they left.
Yes.
Other devotees thought that they're like ecstatic symptoms of a great acharya.
Yeah.
Where he just has realized that he doesn't have much time to do his mission. He just wants to cut through all political, institutional formalities and just do what has to be done the way Krishna's directing him.
Yeah.
And other people, who were myself, were thinking, he's really acting irrationally and pretty crazy. That, he's done so much service for so many years. He's just coming out of the hospital. He has some brain damage. And let's just kind of be patient and stand with him and let him get better, rather than just surrendering to him as an ecstatic symptom, or just rejecting him when he's in this condition. So that's the reason I stayed with him. And shortly after that, I was in India about 95% of the time, so I wasn't really very close to him at all. And to be honest with you, the whole time I lived in New Vrindavan, I was never involved in decision-making or management. For the first 7 years, I was a pujari up on a mountain, and I never even came down to where the devotees lived, except I was just with the brahmacharis. All I did is milk cows and took care of the deities. I was isolated, and then when I came down from that, I was asked to do college preaching, so I was just traveling, and I'd come to New Vrindavan maybe a couple days a month. So I was never involved in any management there, so I was in many ways just like the regular devotees. I was not very privy to things. But because when I was traveling and preaching I was a sannyasi, somehow or other people assumed that I must have been involved in it, all of the decision making.
Yes.
But if you were to ask anybody who actually was involved in the decision making, they'll say I had nothing to do with it. I never went to any meetings. And Kirtananada Swami never discussed anything with me. I would just tell him how my college preaching bill was going, and that was our only dialogue.
Yeah.
That's when all this stuff happened. And then, when he was excommunicated from ISKCON, I went to India to take care of, a few people that were there who were really suffering. And my feeling was that, ISKCON should have given him a chance to get better before just excommunicating him. That was my feeling.
Yes.
But my feeling was based on a lot of things that I didn't know were true.
Yes.
And I must tell you that I was wrong in my judgment of ISKCON, that they were too rash with him.
Yeah.
But my motives were not wrong.
Yes.
And then as time went on, I was very separated from the whole situation. I knew he was off, but I was thinking, maybe he'll get better.
Yeah.
I didn't process why I reject him.
Yeah.
So, reject him not in the sense of a guru for me, but reject him as, somebody that Prabhupada told us on several occasions that we should assist Kirtananada Swami. And that was, for the devotees in New Vrindavan, it was practically the only direct instructions we were getting from Prabhupada. Assist Kirtananada Swami and your life will be perfect.
Yeah.
For those who heard that from Prabhupada several times, like myself and several others, it would take a lot for us to just cut all relations with them.
Yes.
We heard that from Prabhupada, and now Prabhupada was gone. And we were kind of, conditioned with that mentality.
Yeah, that's...
Is this understandable to you so far?
Yeah, no, I certainly understand that you were in a very difficult situation.
So what happened is we started doing this thing in Chopati. We started the center, and it started really growing and really growing and really growing. And the most beautiful, wonderful, sweet people were coming. And at that time, my heart, my life, my soul was just for these people. And if they saw a conflict between myself and Kirtananada Swami, they would have been so pained and so, it would have been devastating to them. Because, they were already rejected by ISKCON.
Yeah.
Because our Chopati Center was not in ISKCON at the time.
Yeah.
So, little by little, I was realizing that Kirtananada Swami is not going to get better. And he's really off. And he's really making he's doing crazy things. And I just wanted to kind of be away from it all. And I just wanted to protect the devotees in Bombay. So even knowing that he was actually very off, I didn't make any waves. I wasn't for him, I wasn't against him. I was just trying to protect the devotees because I knew that Krishna was going to reveal it. The whole of ISKCON was speaking against him, and yet his disciples wouldn't believe it. And if I were to say it, it would have just caused chaos. So I was just quietly just staying in Bombay and trying to protect the devotees and really nourish their faith in Srila Prabhupada. And I felt that, the only way this could happen in a way where there's the least amount of total heartbreak and confusion is if Krishna reveals it. And I just believed he would. And he did.
Yeah.
Krishna did reveal it. And about 80% of New Vrindavan understood it without anybody creating distress. But when that all came out at New Vrindavan, when I left, it was Janmashtami who called Bombay and said, Radhanath, and he said, Kirtananada Swami is totally innocent. He's a Paramhamsa, he's a pure devotee, he's the guru of the universe. But all these are lies that have been created by Radhanath Swami because he's envious of Kirtananada Swami and he wants to take his position. And this is what he was calling and telling the devotees in Bombay. At a certain point, when those things happened, Krishna did reveal it. And then I did make that official cut with him. And by Krishna's grace, we had about a congregation of over 500 very serious devotees in Bombay. And we only lost 3 people through the whole, downfall of the guru and everything. Because I was actually, for a couple of years, I was preparing them for it.
Yeah, yeah.
I will confess that literally I was wrong for not officially cutting the connection to him earlier. But my motivations, I really don't believe my motivations were wrong. I cried for years and prayed to Prabhupada, what should I do? I have no faith in this man anymore, but I don't want to hurt all these wonderful devotees who mean so much to me. What should I do? What I believed Prabhupada wanted me to do was just stay away from Kirtananada Swami and the whole scene and just take care of these devotees, and then, the inevitable comes. They'll be sheltered.
Yeah.
It's kind of a complicated story, so not very true, but that's actually, how it happened.
Yeah, no, I understand. I did follow it. I understand that you followed your heart.
I wasn't allowed in an ISKCON temple for 8 years.
I remember the first time you came to Vrindavan. I was there. You came to Vrindavan with some, it was in the 90s, 93, 94. You came with a group of disciples.
That's after I separated.
Yeah, you were, did you or do you ever feel like, in some way it was inappropriate of you to, because you people did look up to you in some way not to, it's referred to as the sin of silence in a comment like that. That your silence caused suffering and pain to other devotees. Do you feel like there is, it was, maybe you don't feel like you could have done things differently, I don't know.
Well, for a while, I really didn't know if there was anything seriously wrong. I was just kind of waiting and watching. And when gradually I realized there was, I was hardly connected with Vrindavan anymore. I was just doing faith. And as far as ISKCON goes, they had already totally rejected Kirtananada Swami, Vrindavan, and everyone. So I felt that even if I said something, nobody's going to listen.
Yes.
Because the biggest leaders in ISKCON were saying things and nobody listened, and I wasn't a big leader. I was just a small devotee as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
And if they didn't listen to, the whole GBC and everybody else, they're not going to listen to me.
Yeah.
So, I felt that where I was in Bombay, I had to really, really prepare them to understand what Krishna was going to inevitably reveal so that they could carry on in their devotional service and in their connection with Prabhupada. So I have mixed feelings about what I did in that sense, and it was a very, very emotionally turbulent condition for me. What should I do? I didn't think I could change any of the people who believed in him, but what I could have done is just left it all and gone back to ISKCON and been happy. But my heart couldn't do that to these people. So I may have been wrong, but my intentions were not wrong.
Yeah. Presumably there was a time when you, before you started noticing that things were wrong, when you actually, you yourself believed that Kirtananada Swami was empowered by Prabhupada and that he was speaking on behalf of Prabhupada, so to speak.
Yes.
And that you encourage people to take shelter in Kirtananada Swami.
Yes, I did.
Was in your memory, do you think that before Kirtananada Swami was hit, he was philosophically and otherwise he was somewhat sound? Is that was that your understanding?
Before he was hit, there was about 700 devotees living in Vrindavan, and everybody really, really felt that he was just such a dynamic and wonderful and powerful leader. He was very, very nicely representing Prabhupada. Things came out later on of things that he was doing at that time, but I don't think anybody knew about it.
Yeah.
The time he was hit, we just thought he was a wonderful, wonderful spiritual leader, beautifully representing Prabhupada.
Yeah, he was still in ISKCON at the time.
Yeah, he was still in ISKCON. And, after all the changes he made, the way he taught and the way he changed the japa and the roads and everything, all that stuff happened after he was hit on the head. Something his lawyer told me during the trials, because the defense lawyer was calling me, was sending me subpoenas to have to testify in the trials, and the only reason I had to do all these, come all the way from India with subpoenas to testify in the trial, is because of Dharmatma's misconception.
Yeah. Yes.
His misconception was very, very dangerous. So I did, and every time I did, it was believed. The prosecuting attorney later on found out what really happened, and he and the FBI and everybody didn't see any fault in me in regard to any of this. The only person who really saw fault was Janmashtami, and I think he sees fault because if you ever met Janmashtami, I think you'd understand.
I haven't had the honor yet.
There's at least 15 devotees of New Vrindavan, sweet, wonderful devotees, that for years were ready. You could ask people at New Vrindavan. He terrorizes people emotionally. That's a sense gratification. It's a very ugly thing what he does to so many innocent devotees.
Yeah.
And somehow he targeted me, and the reason he targeted me is because by some inconceivable arrangement, I have some prominence.
Yes.
What was your question? I kind of forgot what it was.
If I think you have kind of answered it. It was whether you feel that you have some responsibility for the so-called sin of silence for.
Well, when I wasn't silent about the criminal stuff because I didn't really know what happened.
Yeah.
I wasn't a part of that. As far as silence about his not being a pure devotee, at a certain point, I felt that my speaking would do, when I really lost my faith in him completely, I felt that if I were to speak that, it would cause 99% harm and pain to people and disrupt their spiritual lives. And therefore I felt that I just had to take care of them and protect them. I better explain that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I was right. It's just what I felt I had to do.
It was certainly a situation where there was a very difficult call of judgment to be made. Extremely difficult.
My feeling was that the devotees in ISKCON, they're Krishna conscious, and they're following Krishna consciousness, and they're fine without me. The people in Bombay who have, I brought them up from planting the initial seeds of bhakti all the way to the point where they were just wonderful, wonderful, dedicated, sweet devotees. And I really felt they're the kinds of devotees Prabhupada wanted, and there were hundreds and hundreds of them. And I felt that these people need me. ISKCON really is going on fine without me. But these people need me, so I have to take care of them. And I believe that that's what Prabhu wanted me to do. Whether I was right or wrong, I can't really even say that.
Yeah.
I just did what I felt was the kindest and most compassionate thing to do.
Would you, if you could have the benefit of hindsight, would you do things differently?
Well, in hindsight, Chokati there's so many devotees and they're all doing so nicely. So I guess I probably would have done it the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. If you knew that it would be successful. Yeah. Do you ever? I know there are so many complications, but do you ever speak of these things with your disciples? Openly, okay. Because I know a friend of mine is a Guru Kulis, he's your disciple. I asked him, we were speaking about Dhanurdhara Swami and how what your involvement and your position was with it. And my sense was, well, he openly said he would like to ask you, but my sense was that he wasn't comfortable asking you that. And
personally, I'm comfortable discussing with any of my disciples any of these issues.
Mm-hmm. I think it would. I mean, I don't know. It's up to you. Go ahead. Sorry, Maharaj.
I think that my disciples know that I have a friendship with Dhanurdhara Swami and his disciples. That I haven't been aware that they thought that I was supporting him against decisions or supporting him in a insensitive way toward the Guru Kulis. I haven't been made aware of that they thought that way, that I was being insensitive to the Guru Kulis by having a relationship with them on a personal level. If people feel like that, I would be happy to hear from them and happy to discuss with them.
Mm-hmm. I don't know that I don't think this particular disciple of yours felt that your relationship with him was in any way inappropriate or insensitive. I think he had heard the same rumors I had heard, and he probably in some way he wanted clarifications, but he did not feel comfortable asking you clarifications on the matter. But I can speak with him, and I can write to him or speak with him. And
you can also tell him that that I would. You don't have to tell me his name if you don't prefer, but you could tell him that I'm very open to discuss these subjects with disciples or with anyone.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard, so not that I never wanted to be a guru. What happened is when I separated from Kirtananada Swami, I took everyone to Vrindavan, and I basically said, there's no pressure for you for the initiation. They all lost their faith in him, not by what I said, but by what they saw.
Yes.
I heard from others too. And I basically just reconfirmed it. But I told them, any of these people we're visiting, you can take the initiation from if you want, but I'm never going to initiate.
Yeah.
I have no intention to do so for so many reasons. I just don't feel I'm qualified. We took them to meet every one of the. We went to a Mayapur Yatra. We met Varkeshvara Swami and Jayapataka Swami, and then in Vrindavan, Giriraj Swami, Krishna Goswami, and Trivandrum Swami, and In those days, there wasn't a problem with Gaudiya Math. I took him to Narayan Maharaj and Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj and Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj. And we were very good friends with Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj and Sridhar Maharaj. I said, you can accept initiation with any of these people if you like. I prefer a disciple of Prabhupada, but you can feel free, because in those days there wasn't any restrictions with Gaudiya Math.
Yeah.
That came a little later. And, every one of them said, you're the one who's been giving us Krishna all these years. We hardly knew Kirtananada Swami, and, you're our guru. And like a couple of years went by, and they felt like that, and my godbrothers were pushing me, and even Gaudiya Math's acharyas were pushing me, and my godbrothers were pushing me. You have to give shelter and reinitiate these people. They're not going to go anywhere else. We can't artificially force. I wasn't forcing. And they were all saying we can't artificially accept someone. And that's how I prayed to Prabhupada for months, and came to the conclusion that I didn't want to do it, but this is the way I have to serve these people, and this is the way I can serve Prabhupada. It's not easy, and I'm just a simple type of a person who doesn't like formalities and all that stuff, and just the fact that you have that post, people have all these fears.
Yes.
Like what you're saying, this devotee, he feels very shy or afraid to discuss something with me. It's probably not because I am who I am. It's probably because I'm a guru.
Yes. Also, I think you are a guru, but you're also a guru with a lot of disciples, and it can be difficult to reach you sometimes, perhaps.
Well, that's one of my greatest faults. Communication with people I'm not sitting in a room with. Yeah.
Well, then I feel.
I'm not so bad communicating with somebody that I'm face to face with. When it comes to letters and emails and all that stuff, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah. No, I feel that much more honored that you took the trouble to call me, and grateful.
In my own heart, I feel so much indebtedness and so much sincere love and affection for the early generation that it's always my priority. If I could help, devotees in the early generation, if I have the power to help. When Prabhu told me about your troubles with Gary, my position is not to side with Gary. He's a dear friend of mine. It's not my position to side with him in these things, because I don't really know the case. And I believe in you. I believe in you. How the CPO is dealing with it and everything like that. I feel that they should have had more communication with local leaders and everything. But I feel pains of people. I've talked to so many guru gurus who are really, really hurt. And if through all that of being hurt or seeing others that are hurt, anyone who still has, to whatever extent, a desire to be with devotees who love Krishna, my heart goes out, and I really want to help. And when Vrajabihari Prabhu said that you wanted to talk to me, or when Prabhu said you wanted to talk to me, to be very honest with you, I don't even know what you look like. If I saw you, I know I would recognize you, but I can't connect your name with your face.
We haven't met many times. We've met once or twice. I think once Madhava presented me to you once.
Yeah, and if I see you, I know I'm.
Yeah.
Talking to somebody, I can't even put a face on.
I know what you look like.
I admit to that. And, you're you're a child of our movement, and when Dr. Bihari Prabhu said that you wanted to talk to me, that became my first priority.
Thank you.
You don't have to thank me for that. I thank you for allowing me to be a part of your life in some small way.
Maharaj, have you ever considered, I'm sure you have, but writing something, defending yourself in some way? Just one-off, like a one-off statement, because it looks quite bad. That I understand that if you, on one hand, if you respond, you give Janmashtami and people like him, you're probably going to add fuel to the fire. But silence is also leaves silence on your part also creates a lot of doubts in people, and it can be seen as an admission of guilt.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, the first I heard that Janmashtami was putting Dharmatma's testimony was 2 days ago when Raja Bihari Prabhu told me about it.
Yeah.
So I heard about it, and the best way to do that is to actually get the transcript of the trial of my testimony and Rukmini's testimony.
Yes.
Put that on.
Yes.
But I actually, to be honest with you, I hate to say this, but we did look at the time. I have a flight in 2.5 hours to Bombay.
Okay.
I do have to leave for the airport.
Okay. Okay. Can I ask you one last thing?
Let me just finish.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to Bombay, I guess I could try to call somebody in America and try to get them to get those transcripts from the trials. Obviously, Janmashtami went through all the trouble of getting a transcript, but he knows 100,000%. He knows the testimony of myself and Rukmini. And the fact that he only put Dharmatmas on means he's not really concerned with people getting the truth.
He's just pushing his own...
Yeah, he's just looking for any bit of evidence that he can just push for his, for his agenda. But I think I will do that with your suggestion. I just heard about it within the last 2 days. I'll call somebody in America.
I think it would be very helpful for a lot of devotees.
Do you think it should be posted on the same website that? Should it be on Dandavats? The only problem with Dandavats is a lot of people in Dandavats don't read this other stuff, so they may not even understand what's being talked about. Yeah.
So I think that's a technicality. You can. It might be better. It might be better to just post it on the Sampradaya-san. I don't know.
So I'll call somebody when I reach Bombay, because I have to reach the airport right away.
Yeah.
And I'll ask them to do that. The only problem is I don't know how long it takes to get the courts to I don't know what the procedure is to get photocopies of transcripts.
Sometimes if somebody can go down, they can give you copies on the spot, or they can even send you copies sometimes.
Okay. Well, I'll contact somebody in America as soon as I get to Bombay, and
I think that would really if you can show that he only presented part of the evidence, you're going to show that he's not a person with much credibility.
I really appreciate your sympathetic.
And I think that's important for a lot of devotees.
Okay. How long has this been on the internet?
Maybe the actual testimony came on maybe a month ago, but there has been for like on and off for over a year. It's been on. It's been going. The topic have been discussed in many different ways, and then there was letters from Tirtha in jail, and it's been an ongoing topic for a long time. Could I ask you one last thing before we cut off?
Please.
We're good friends, and I know it is a big concern for him. Would you be willing to? I can ask him to contact you, or if you want to try to contact him. I think it would be very beneficial if you spoke with him.
Okay, I'd be happy to.
Would you like me to call him and try to contact you, or would you like to try and contact him? What do you think would be the best way to arrange something?
I don't know how to contact him, but he could contact me at our Chopati Bombay temple.
Is it straightforward? If somebody calls and says, I want to speak with Radhanath Swami, then they get through, or?
I think so. I would think so.
Okay.
And I will be coming to Vrindavan for a yatra, but I'll be really, really busy during the yatra.
Yes. Okay. I will speak with, and I'll see how he feels. And then I'll tell him that you are open for.
Yeah, is that specifically in regard to Sri Galim thing?
Yes.
Okay, but I do understand that up until I talked to and understood what really happened. I wasn't taking a stand against him.
Yes.
How do you know? I'm just talking on the phone to somebody walking back. Yeah, we're okay. Thank you very much. I'm just Hare Krishna. There's all these devotees pointing to clocks, so I have to go to the airport. I don't remember that I tried to support him or defend him after I understood what happened.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
But I'd be happy to talk to him.
He
may remind me of something that I forgot too.
Yeah, no, that's why I think it is best if you talk with him, because I wasn't there. I have no idea what was happening. I don't know what specifically is referring to but I know he was disturbed by that.
Okay. Question, I will go?
Yes. So is calling the Chopati Temple the best way to reach you?
Yeah, that's the best way. Because I'll be there tomorrow.
Okay. I will call him and I will tell him that you're available. And look, thank you very much for calling.
He's an old friend. I'll be happy to talk to him.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Krishna.
Thank you.